Welcome back to another amazing episode this week, and I have a beautiful guest to share with you today. His name is Alexander Shafer. And Alexander, I just want to dive in because I know we're going to have so much to talk about, but I would love for you to share with the audience who you be and what you do in the world.
Thank you so much for this divine opportunity to be connected with you on your beautiful platform. It's such an honor to just be here with you all. Thank you so much. I uh, I began really deep diving on my journey. I'm the owner of Pure Life Advancement Coaching. I work with plant medicines, sound healing, frequencies, meditation, breath work, and a lot of different holistic and Ayurvedic healing modalities that were just shown to me. They came to me through the universe, and I have been bringing them to my community since then. So for the last 3 years, it's been magic, and so many amazing things have been happening.
Did you start off this way, or did you have a journey that landed you into this study and this experience? I feel like I was on a journey that led me into these next breadcrumbs that really helped me discover me and now expand into consciousness and my own spiritual depth. How about you? Was that something that was always present for you in life?
I had a lot of confirmations as a young child, and I was always very connected to nature. I lost my way. Like I said, 3 years ago, I had a rock bottom moment where I met our amazing mutual friend, Aloka Potterai, at
Mm.
Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. And that's an ayahuasca retreat center in Costa Rica. And they just have a phenomenal program down there. You go down there for 7 days, they have guest speakers. It's so much about educating you on the medicine you're about to do, the full experience you're going to have, the emotions you're going to feel. And when you go into these psychedelic medicines, you see very profound things and things that don't really exist in the 3D plane.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have somebody there to bring you, to integrate that with you. So when I had my rock bottom moment, I surrendered to the will of the universe. And that was the first opportunity that presented itself because I had been prescribed Xanax, I'd been prescribed other things in the West that didn't necessarily resonate with me. And at that moment, when I woke up in the jail cell from being drunk, I had an issue with alcohol use disorder. So I was very high functioning alcoholic. I sold $2 million a year in air conditioning sales at the best AC company down here in Southwest Florida. That was all taken away from one night of drinking. I wasn't even driving and I didn't hurt anybody. I woke up in a jail cell and I lost everything after that. So then I realized I need to surrender. And that's when I went down to Costa Rica and had that beautiful plant medicine experience that completely shifted my perspective of life.
And then what's next? You come back from Costa Rica completely shifted from everything you knew in your life. What was the very next thing where you just decided, this is my path? You know, that moment of what's the first thing to study? Where do I go next? What was that for you?
So I didn't get my miracle at Rhythmia. They talk about that. I had a very profound dream. When I was sleeping the second night I got home from Costa Rica, I had a dream of my mother coming into the crib right after I was born. And she's just standing there looking at me kind of in disapproval. And my dad runs in right behind her. He's like, "What are you doing? Pick him up, hold him, love him. He needs your love." And she's like, "I didn't want that. I wanted a daughter." Like she was done. She was just over it because she carried me for 9 months. I get it. I understand the beauty creation of childbirth. It totally changes a woman's body and it changes your whole perspective. But I don't blame her and I'm not upset. We had a conversation after that and it totally changed everything. But when I was able to see my whole life from that perspective, that I was coming from a victim personality or mentality in every aspect of my life, everything shifted. And that's when I became empowered. And I went back to our friend Alok, who I met, and he really put me on this life coaching path where I was hot and heavy in that in the first year. I did a lot of integration. I wrote out programs and I had a lot of people that I was working with on the integration side of plant medicine or even ketamine, because down here in Southwest Florida, ketamine is becoming a pretty usable modality and user friendly. It's for people that aren't willing to go to the jungle or really want to connect with nature. You go to a doctor's office, have a shot.
Okay.
So after I kind of shifted away from that, I went back to the jungle. And last year I had 3 journeys to Mexico, Costa Rica, and another one in South America that educated me a lot more and put me in a different position to teach, heal, and love humanity. So now I've been working to be inducted as a shaman with the Comcac tribe, which is based out of the Sonoran Desert in Mexico. And things are going wonderfully. Every day is such a blessing. but it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There are a lot of dark nights of the soul. There are a lot of very dark awarenesses that come to us in this process in the healing journey. So it's not once you get through, everything is easy. It's
Right.
a lot of work and it's
Oh,
dedication. I haven't drank in 3 years since I was arrested. I let that all go. It's just
well,
not a part of my frequency anymore.
I'm really excited for you in that. Like, it's got to be a complete 360-degree turn, and then yet you're in this space of your consciousness expanding, and that's one of the things, like perceptions on how we can think, feel, and respond to things are never going to be limited. They're always ever expanding. And so is that frequency of unconditional love. And so sometimes I feel like we get confused as humans in love of another. It's really not. It's that life force, God source, universal energy that runs through us that can also be ever expansive. And what I love that you're talking about in the work that's so dear to your heart is you're helping people move beyond the barriers to experience themselves differently. And there are so many modalities that can bring us into wherever we're meeting each other. Like, right, when I have clients come in at numerology, they're starting to see themselves like everyone else maybe sees them and they don't. And that gets them curious to dive deeper into what's in my way from where I am here and where I want to go here. But really, the depth continues once all of that noise stops and you actually get to feel your own essence. And I think that's so beautiful, but we're not used to that, like you said. And I wanted to go back just a bit to the dark nights of the soul. And I think and I'm not an expert. I think we all just experience them differently, right? We all go
Mhm.
through these transitions, these large awakenings. So many people that I speak with, I think it's because it's part of my journey too. Sometimes you go to this big period of loss before you find yourself again.
Absolutely.
It wasn't mandatory, but it just wasn't listening or whatever. I was just so, I was really caught up in just being a mom and building businesses and doing the day-to-day everything that I don't even know. I look back and like, how did I not know to just look beyond that? You're so just caught right here, right? And I think what I'm so excited about are these conversations that help us expand our consciousness, our conscious awareness. Because when we do that, we realize we're not just a human in a meat suit existing on this planet. There's more. So I would love for you to expand upon that a little bit, because the dark nights of the soul are how we begin to see what else is available for us, what else is possible. Um, but with you working so closely with people on these journeys, they're going to be all different. So I think my question that really wants to come out is, what is your experience in the unlearning process as they go through these transitions with the dark night of the soul? And we have to really let go of that unlearning. It can't come with us when we're in the surrender. You can't have both. We have to choose. What is your experience when people find you? Like, where are they at when they come to you? And how does the sound healing, the frequency really help with their release, I guess, is that surrender?
So people have their own preconceived notions of how they are and what they believe in. Let's say, like, just recently, we have a new woman coming to the group, and she's very Christian. And she asked if she was doing something wrong. And I said, we do a non-denominational prayer here that's very spiritual. We acknowledge nature, we acknowledge the consciousness around us, and we do say God, but there's not a thing where it says Jesus, Buddha, anything specific. And I said, you don't have to participate. It's an invitation for you to honor yourself and honor the energy around you. And if that feels good, we want you to do that. So it's not even about changing somebody's direct perception of what they believe in. It's inviting them to a new way of being.
I like
Because
that.
when you try to tell somebody like, hey, this is this way or this is this way, they're immediately coming at you with resentment, yeah, or some friction. It's not as comfortable as, hey, this is an invitation for you to join our circle. We'd love for you to be a part of our group, and
Yeah.
we'd love your energy to be a part of this prayer. So we are expanding in ways that there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of resentment towards parents. A lot of the work we do is to talk to our inner child, is to write letters to our ancestors, our grandparents, and our parents to specifically forgive them. And when the people write those things down, they will see the patterns that they are living and that their parents, not intentionally, but it's like, if your dad's the kind of person that's going to say, if you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about, nine times out of 10, you're going to follow that because that's what your dad said.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's very, very bad generational trauma that's being passed down.
Yeah.
It just needs to be love. And if somebody's giving you an opportunity, somebody's rude to you, somebody doesn't open the door for you, that's somebody blessing you with an opportunity to say, oh, I guess he didn't see me. Thank you. Let me get the door for you next time. Or I hope you have a wonderful day. Influence somebody with positivity. Just brighten somebody's day. And it almost doesn't matter what you're trying to influence them with. If you're trying to change an idea, but bringing awarenesses to people is very difficult. Sometimes after those sessions, may go a couple weeks without hearing back because they're taking some time to process. Because,
Mhm.
being 38 years old or 40 years old or 50 years old and coming to the realization that, like, this 37-year-old kid just told me that I've got generational trauma, but I wrote it myself. That's a tough pill for an ego to swallow, and I totally understand that. So when they do come back, they're always more open. They're always like, okay, yeah, I saw that I wasn't really, I saw it coming from ego. So we do have relationships that go that way, but we more so than less, they are healthy, they're happy, and they slowly expand. Like this woman that was coming in church from church, she had a full sweater on, pants, shoes, sneakers, tube socks. Last night at the sound healing, she was wearing a tank top, yoga pant, like really cool fancy yoga pants with a pattern, flip flops, like bringing friends and telling them all about it. So to see
Yeah.
those transformations, that's what we really love. And like now they're friends. They go from just acquaintances to like beautiful friendships that blossom.
So you're doing your work in group, like circle or community.
We do weekly community events with sound healing, and then we do one-to-one coaching or couples. We love to work with couples because that's a private couple session and then a sound healing at the end. You not only like have had a really cathartic session and a really nice session to work together if you had to work through something or maybe your communication's just not quite matching. Lexi and I are phenomenal. My wife, my beloved partner, she works with me in this. We are so phenomenal at getting people to slow down, understand, and respect each other because of the cadence that we carry with each other and because of the level of respect we carry just by being an example in front of the couple. So
Yeah.
we do that work and then we'll finish it with the sound healing. So they'll get surrendered and then they'll get the frequency of the instruments to actually physically get them to feel good. We get texts after they made the best love they've ever made, or they reconnected in a way because they weren't connecting, they weren't quite vibrating right. And when you get all those frequencies right and you seal it with the healing, man, that's the medicine, that's the work, that's the magic.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And then you get to continue your individual paths and your together path, which isn't the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's this convergence of I get to be fully me, you get to be fully you, and then we get to come together and redefine what this is now, not the past, which I think is
Mhm.
really beautiful. My husband and I have been going through a lot of that as well. And, after 30 years together, we're learning where we don't have to hold the past. We're not those people, and yet we just get to bring it all now. And this is all unknown, and it's beautiful. And so it's been gorgeous. And just even after 30 years, you don't presume you know somebody because you
Right,
continue.
because of what you just said, the power of now, the power of right now.
Yeah,
You see your husband 5 minutes ago, and then you see him 5 minutes later, he's a different person.
yeah. And it's
And he
like,
could be the most attractive person that second 5 minutes later, like what shifted? I don't know, but let's figure
right?
this out.
And we're falling in love with each other in a whole new way, which is beautiful because there's a higher vibration of love flowing between us individually and then together. And so there's a lot I wanted to say about that. I want to go back just a second. Um, I feel like what you're describing is this. My languaging is like a permission slip. I feel like there's so many, and I'll just classify women, and you can speak for the men, women who are just wanting this permission slip to be all of who they are, but they've just in this mundane cycling of I've got to do all the things that they don't open that space. But when they do, it can be overwhelming with the amount of possibilities of, oh my God, well, who am I if I'm not all the things on my roles that I'm playing? And then if I go beyond the drama, what else do I have to talk about? And that can be very scary. I teach that as well. I
Absolutely.
teach emotional mastery through my programs, and it's like layer upon layer of getting to know where we are, how the brain and body work, what triggers us, what trigger are we in, how we collapse them, how we forgive, so it's a lot of very similar tools expressed in a different way, but it's because they work. And it's the work that's so easy to not do.
Hmm.
It feels so simple that it just feels like, oh, I don't need that. And yet round
How's that really going to help me? Well, are you trying it? Be teachable. That's my
and
biggest advice to anybody out there. Be teachable.
And do you find, like, you've been doing this work a while, I've been doing this work a while, where the brain gets so sexy and like, oh, we're right back there again. Like, am I doing that thing? Am I actually doing what I thought about or thought that was good for? Maybe thought about maybe that was great for me, but never really did it. Like, it's fascinating to me. I think that's just part of being human, right?
Absolutely.
Um, this unlearning process, releasing what no longer serves us. There are a group of people who'll be listening to this podcast who get that language, and there's a group of people who won't maybe understand or just are kind of coming into that. I remember hearing that and be like, that sounds amazing. What does that mean?
I have a perfect example. I just
Yeah.
used it last night. And it's actually very similar to what they talk about in the Four Agreements. When I was a young child, I had a diary. I wrote amazing sci-fi fan fiction in it, really cool stories that kind of melded Star Wars and other genres like
Right.
Star Trek. And I was 9 years old, phenomenal writer. I had this diary that was like that thick and it was almost full. And I opened it one day to start writing, so excited. And my brother had written, "This stupid shit sucks."
Ugh.
That dropped me at nine
Yeah.
years old. It still gets me to this day. I've
Yeah.
always forgiven him. He's
My heart
amazing.
just
And
went, oh.
right. So I didn't write for 3 years until I had to for the Florida Writes writing test. And I got a 5.9 out of 6, which was way higher than anybody else in that grade. And that's when I finally picked up the pen again. But I needed the universe to bring me that, to show me that I have that power and that you should never play small. It doesn't matter if somebody doesn't like what you're doing. Again, it's an opportunity for you to shine brighter. Don't ever play small to be comfortable or be little for somebody else. It's that
Yeah.
person's issue, and you have every right to shine bright.
And how many of those examples do we live in, day out? Where
Everybody
we just
has them.
brush them over or brush them under the rug like it wasn't a big deal, but it is a big deal. Like these are the things that just kind of like take a little piece or actually add a little piece of armor onto the heart instead of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Carrying
like you're
that
putting
for
a weighted vest on. You're
50
like,
years.
oh. When I first started this work, it was about 7 years ago. I hadn't grown up with it. I grew up in school, like Christian school, Catholic school, and something was just off for me. And I was really glad because it was very structured and I was a good girl and I stayed very committed to my dance and all the things I love to do. And I just felt like something was missing. And later in life, as I came into this work, it felt like home. It felt like permission to be fully myself. And a part of that
Yes.
difficulty, especially like I would say the last 3 or 4 years, was really saying, hey, I'm intuitive and I'm getting a lot of downloads and I read through the numbers and the numbers speak to me and there's a higher consciousness. And like every time I learned something more, that I was like giving myself permission to step into that. And so
Yes.
I love what you're saying because I think there's so many of us, and I'm in my 50s now, and I didn't start all of this until I was like 48, where it feels like it's not safe. Like it's like, oh shit, if I come out and I'm this person fully me, I won't be loved, accepted. And so we have all these like layers of
The old
imposter
programming.
syndrome, programming, people pleasing, perfectionism that you may not have been aware of. But as I fully stepped in, the thing that think most surprises me is people are like, yeah, that's you. And
Yeah.
I'm
Say it again louder, Michelle. We want to hear it.
right. And I'm like, wait, no, let me get the graphs and the easels out to explain how I've had to get here. And they're like, yeah, makes sense.
I don't need those. Yeah, same thing with me. Same exact thing. I wanted to have very edited videos, and now I just talk to the camera. I wanted to
Yeah.
have all these. No, you can do that. It's great, but that's not for me.
Yeah.
Just
And
be yourself. Do you?
I think it's been super freeing. I know one of my greater fears, and maybe because you work with couples, you see this over and over, was that if I'm fully me, my husband won't love me. Or what will they think? Or I'll lose everything that I gained by just playing the roles, being everything everyone wanted, not knowing the difference. You start stepping into this next person as you begin to awaken, and you're going to get the judgments. People are going to say things suck. They're going to say, oh, this is the devil. This is this. All the judgments come in that aren't yours, that you
Mhm.
face right there in deciding, are you committed to you? Do you love you enough to follow this journey?
There's the conscious awareness. There's the inner
Right.
monologue. We all have it.
Yep. And
That's that
then,
split second that you need to take and ask yourself those really important questions. Like this is the secret, everybody, right here, what she's saying. Conscious awareness, bringing that moment to ask yourself the important question.
that's
Does it
right.
serve my highest good? Please.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time, and I think this is the greatest learning that's coming into my work now. And there's a lot of little underbelly facets of it, but I just want to speak to those who are really resonating with this as well, right? Every time I was certain that if I was me, something else was going to fall away, I was shown, no, it's not. And sometimes, yes, it was. Maybe it was friendships, maybe it was things. It was never the thing I thought was the worst. And I started to really love my brain a whole new way. My mind, the ego mind. And we're never taught to love the ego mind. We're taught to hate it, destroy it, move beyond it, right? But when you can understand your patterns and you can understand the one that runs in this lifetime the most to teach you the most, you also get to understand when it's lying to you. And you get to see it so much more clearly because there's come a time this year specific where everything I used to worry about has died. The ego has died and left. And now who am I when I step into that next story? The unknown, the part that I don't know, the part that doesn't have a guarantee, but the part that I'm fully surrendered to. Because I got to a point where I'm like, I'm doing this no matter what. I'm being me no matter what falls away,
Yes.
including if that was my marriage, if that was anything else. I just stopped apologizing.
Yes.
And everything I dreamed of coming true came true in that next year, to where I have nothing else to complain, to whine, to go back in the past about, to sit in my own drama about. And it's these layers of becoming free in a way
Mhm.
that you only can experience when you walk through the shadows.
Mhm.
Do you find that a lot in couples? Like the maybe one's a little further in their journey than the other, and they're just waiting for the other to catch up, but then they discover this whole new area where all that falls away. Like, what
Happened
is your,
exactly with my wife and I.
okay, then speak to that because
Exact same thing.
I just feel like
So
that's
I
where this
went,
is going right now. This is
yeah. I went and did plant medicine and came back and I had all these new ideas and was saying these things and I changed my way of eating. Really, I changed my whole way of being. Like you said, I made a 360 turn.
yeah.
And we didn't want to leave each other. She didn't want to leave me after what happened. We just wanted to get closer. So it's been a lot of intentional work because I wasn't intentionally creating a safe space for my home life, for my wife. I
Mm,
love her. Yeah, sure. But what does it mean to intentionally create a safe space? I mean, for females especially, it's super important. Most of my work is done with women, and a lot of us have that familial trauma or sexual trauma. So, me as a masculine man, I have to be very gentle. I have to be calm. I have to create this safe, energetic space. But I also have to go out of my way to celebrate when my wife creates something wonderful or just give her some flowers, but really be there for her in every moment. When she calls me in the middle of the day, hey, honey, how are you? I'm fully there. I'm fully present with her. Whatever she's got to process, I'm there for it. I stop what I'm doing. And that's what it means to be in a relationship, not just with your wife, with your friends.
everything.
Real friendship, true. It's like, hold on, my friend just called. I'm going to walk away. Everybody has that time, but because we have these cell phones, this new generation doesn't realize what it was like not to have it.
Yeah.
Things were okay when we didn't have cell phones and constant interaction. It was a beautiful way of being. I grew up in the 90s. It was tough, but I also grew up in the 90s with a hot mom and a gay dad. So if
Yeah.
you want to talk to me about having issues, I started fighting. I was selling drugs. I was doing all kinds of wild things in my youth that I would never do today, but I see them as part of my journey
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for it. But my wife, to get back to that, I started doing breath work and plant medicine, and she ended up doing plant medicine with me. We went to South America. But in between those times, it was always like, well, she's sitting there saying, I feel like you're so much farther along. And I go, babe, it's not a race. I said, we're both going to die. And that's all this leads to. Life is a journey to death. So the more we can be together and experience these things together, the more fun we'll have. And then you'll feel healthier because you're releasing things that don't serve you. You shake them off like a frequency that doesn't really resonate with you.
Yeah.
And she started, as soon as we went and did plant medicine, she got certified in sound healing. And that's when these meditations became a thing.
Wow.
So we've grown a company through our reflection of her saying that I've been or I am farther along. It's not true. We're together. We are one. We are all one consciousness. And when we surrender and allow each other to learn, surrender the ego and allow each other to learn and really be teachable, that's when doors open up, just like you said. It just, everything opens up. When you don't allow the mind to shut it down and you just say, I was going to say at that point in my life when you were saying I started out with boundaries when I came back from Rhythmia. I lost a couple friends. I don't want to say I lost them because they're blessed on their journey just as I am mine.
Absolutely.
But you don't have these relationships anymore. Sometimes these boundaries are formed by speaking, saying, "Hey, I don't really resonate with what you're doing. I can't really hang out with you anymore." That's fair to say, but sometimes people can't accept that. So just allowing the phone to ring or allowing a text message to be set is okay. That's the boundary. And if they don't get that, if they can't mop up what you're spilling, maybe they're still not, they're just not ready for you.
Yeah.
It's tougher though, because after that, after the boundaries, you have that, I call it the no fucks given. You just don't care about what any else, and like you get fed up, not
Yeah.
with life. You get fed up with yourself. And that's where the no fucks given comes
Yes.
because you're upset. Like, if I don't make a video and share my knowledge with you on the internet, that's me being selfish with my energy and my love. Because
Right.
my love is expressing this knowledge to you, passing it to you, giving, because that's my life path. If you're a hairdresser and your job is to dress hair, then that's what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to be the best version of that. So we all have very unique, innate gifts that we are born with, and we have to hone them. But we have to also clean our diets. We have to look in ourselves spiritually. We have to
Yes.
look at ourselves in the mirror and realize that we are always the issue. We are always the ones that are slowing ourselves down. But
We're the
once we learn to forgive ourselves and acknowledge, what's truly inside of us, which is everything.
yeah. Yeah. There's language. I'm gonna say.
Sorry for cursing. Sorry for
Oh,
cursing.
it's good. It's totally fine because I always hit explicit because I don't trust, I'm just like, it's gonna come out. So it's totally fine. We're good. Um, there's so much goodness in that. I think I lost my train of thought, but we'll just come back in.
That's greatness, then.
There's just so much to discover about yourself, right? What I love is using numerology as a tool is it shows you your personality codes. It shows you these patterns I was talking
Life
about.
path number 4. I don't know if you
There
can
you
see
go.
it.
So it's not that you can't do anything else. It's that these are the tendencies of what you may experience in this lifetime. Here's the highs, here's the lows. Where are you? There's always another empowering choice to make because the intention is for you to have a loving, blissful, thriving life. And you can locate wherever you are on that journey by, we'll just say the cards, the numbers, just showing you that what patterns are present. Where are you in that journey? Right?
Absolutely.
It's not going to tell you what to eat for breakfast, which way to turn, that you should be doing something else because we are each that unique expression. It is about honoring what is your unique expression. And if you don't feel like that's the very first question to open up the journey. Like that is where everybody's journey
Oh
was,
yeah.
who am I? Who am I? And then it just starts to unfold. What do I want is the next one. I couldn't answer that. I knew how to give everybody else everything. Right? So coming into what I want and then having it feel safe to be like, I can want things and I can want it all, that I can actually have it all, live it all. I get to define what that is without anyone else's should, need tos, or have tos being in the way. It leads to this next layer of discovery. But then really beyond all that, underneath, there's this part of me that I can remember now as a kid. I just had wisdom flowing through. So imagine having wisdom flowing through and you're 6 years old told like, be quiet, or that can't be, right? And the same thing as with your writing. You shut these things down because someone's told you
Mhm.
that's not how it's supposed to work. And when I land into who I am now, I had such a better understanding from this one tool and saying, hey, did you know that you're here to mirror value? Not just to like, hey, you have those value, but because you're living your life, it's valuable. Because
Yes.
your being who you are is always
Yes.
going to be the greatest mirror for someone else to find the hope or the excitement to take their next best step. And there's always going to be another layer to be uncovered. And so I was like, when I first learned that with my own birth chart, I was like, that feels like a pretty big order. What? And as I've landed into that more and more, I'm like, I can see the nuances and where that is, how I help women through the mind, how I help them come into their body, how we ground here and live presently in this moment and connect with our higher self. It's not one or the other, it's integrated, like you say, right? It's the action steps that lead to the discovery. It's the integration of the nervous system when you say yes, when the head's yes and the body's like, I need a minute. It's being patient and loving the body to catch up through this
Yes.
journey because it becomes the beacon for the ever expansive moments that go beyond what you've known before. Like the past just always keeps ending. We don't have to keep going back and living there,
What are we
right?
holding on to back there?
Right? Like it's heavy. It's part of
Yeah.
that big weighted jacket that we were putting. It's a backpack. It's the backpack that we put on with all the weight and the crap and the garbage in it, which is so good. And it doesn't matter where you are and where someone else is when you can connect in that space of we're here right now. And so what's next here is that moment.
Could
I'd
I
love,
touch on one thing you just said?
oh, please. Yeah.
So I did find my way. Whoever's out here judging, judge me all you want. I don't mind. I did recently get thrown shade because I found my way through plant medicine.
Oh,
We are
yes.
nature.
Next question.
We are water. So if I have a divine connection with what I am, that's perfect because that's the way God designed us. But if you find your healing way through yoga, or if you find it through an energetic transmission, or
Yep.
if you find it through meditation or breath work, I honor you. If you find it through religion, God bless you.
Yes.
However you find it and however you're walking your path, I honor you. It does not matter how you find your way, just find it and be you
I
unapologetically.
I think it's so good because that's why there are so many ways. Not everybody's
Yes,
going to be like, this
right.
is what attracts me to this. This is why these conversations are so good because it's not competition. It's like, let's talk about these avenues and see which ones are resonating. And then we can just hold space
Oh,
for our
cool. I want to try that. I've never even heard of that. That's
yes,
amazing. That's what the point of
yes.
this is connecting.
Those are the experiences where you're going to experience yourself differently, not the
Hmm.
same way. So I'd love before we wrap up today to talk about you have like one of the topics around the psychedelic medicines. There's stigma, there's knowledge coming in. You hear more and more and more about them. What do you want to say towards that kind of modality? Like you're using that in your work, and so here's this beautiful opportunity to say, don't be afraid if this is calling you. I feel like they're journeys that call people. Do you feel the
Absolutely.
same? Yeah.
Physically, we live in this 3D form. When you do these journeys, you go to other realities, higher dimensions. When you
Can you
allow your
talk about that?
spiritual body
Yeah. Can you
to
talk more about
exit your physical 3D body, you can go to the fifth dimension. It's very colorful. There are other beings there, extraterrestrials, interdimensional, light beings. Sometimes you just go to darkness. Sometimes you go to, I've seen my father-in-law. He just passed away last year. My wife has seen her dad twice in different plant medicine experiences. Your consciousness creates your reality. So when you ingest plant medicine, whatever is inside of you comes to the surface. What does not serve you shakes off.
oh,
And in integration, it can either come back because the universe always brings up old pasts, old things. You better believe people tried to get me to go drinking with them when I came back. It just doesn't serve me anymore. It's not for me. So we do this to expand. When we are in meditation and we think about the skin around our forehead and around our head, but then you also think about the space around that energetically allows your being, your spiritual body to expand. So when we consciously think in this 3D realm about expanding space around us, just like in plant medicine, we leave, we expand, we see more. And it allows you to disassociate from the 3D reality that you live in. If you have a very stressful home life, very stressful job, if you're on the fence about getting divorced, on the fence about having a child, these medicines can give you the awareness of maybe you're ready for it, maybe you're not. But all you're looking at is a reflection of yourself with the medicine. You're creating a relationship with the medicine. It's going to show you, doesn't matter which medicine it is, it's going to show you what you need to see in that moment. And whatever is inside of you, like I said, will be a reflection of what you see. So all these stories about bad trips, normally people say, "Oh, I had a bad trip with mushrooms." The first question I ask, "Were you drinking?" Drinking is a spirit. Alcohol is a spirit. It lowers your vibration. So do not mix these medicines with other things.
Right.
Great that you tried mushrooms a while ago and you were drunk. It's not the way to do a healing experience. So we do very sacred ceremonial experiences that are taught to me by a 6,000-year-old tradition from the Comcac tribe. Then we use sound healing frequency to work with that and really, like I said, solidify the connection. And there's always follow-up calls. And it's not just one treatment, it's multiple, and depends on the client, and it depends on their level of, truth seeking is what I like to call it, because you're really just seeking more knowledge about yourself. Once you get past letting go, releasing what no longer serves you, it becomes more expansive, it becomes more beautiful, and it's not as traumatic of like the first night I had ayahuasca. I was writhing, I didn't see visuals, but I was just kind of going through withdrawals for like 8 hours. And the second night I saw some visuals of things that I was doing that weren't the best in society. So I got the awareness of, hey, that's not the best way to be. And you just change that behavior. That's
Yeah.
it. It's like watching a video of yourself. I mean, I've had experiences where I feel like I'm sitting in the Haunted Mansion cart at Disney and I'm watching videos of my life, but it's happening so quick that you're like in this little cart. Your consciousness is in a cart and it takes you to things that you need to see, you process it, and the integration is what you do afterwards.
Yes, I think
And that's
that's,
what really seals the deal.
I think
Because it's
it's
cool to see what you see, but it's the work is done after the ceremony.
right. Because what does that mean come up? And then we start getting back in the mind. It doesn't need to mean anything. And yet it can just be okay to be in this integration, which I think is
Yes.
a piece that's missed so often. I think it's treated like it's just this random thing you do on a weekend, right? Or, I'm not sure for everybody, but I think the depth of the work comes after in the unfolding, which is so
Yes.
beautiful. Um, what would you say? What would you say to someone who is interested in this journey? What to look for in the practitioner? What to look, is there, I don't know, I was
What
gonna
to
say,
look for in the practitioner is your energy. Feel the
gotcha.
energy. When that person hugs you, you should have a physical relationship, not a sexual, but you should have absolutely a physical relationship with anybody who's going to energetically be working with you, whether it's Reiki, plant medicine, or anything. If you're, I mean, even a therapist, if I'm going to be telling you deep secrets, I want to be able to hug you. I want to feel your energy and I want to feel safe in that energy
That's right.
because that's the way we connect. Our hearts are energy centers. So if I can hug somebody and I feel their energy is not for me, I'm not going to be rude to them, but I'm going to put a boundary up and I'm going to leave them at arm's length.
So if there's
So it's
any
really
doubt,
important.
if there's any energetic doubt in that connection with the person,
Cut it out because that's your intuition talking to you.
yeah, because that's
Feelings
a
are
deep
so
journey to go on.
important.
That's a deep journey to go on with somebody and to not have
Exactly.
that full connection of trust.
Whether it's a man or a woman, it's my job to create a safe space. And if they don't feel safe with me, then I don't want them to do the medicine with me. I want them to go somewhere else.
I love that. It's so
It's not
true.
about money at all. It's just simply about the healing. It's about
It's
everybody coming together and connecting and feeling safe. Because also, that's how a bad experience would happen is if somebody doesn't feel safe, then
right.
they're going to start projecting their ego during the
That's right.
trip.
That's right. There's a lot to understand with that, and it can be very quick. It can be very advanced in like your emotional mastery skill or what you go through. Like some people take a long journey with learning those things and healing little by little, but something like that can take you exponentially further, and then it's assimilating what the heck is actually going on now. Like, what are the tools that I
Right.
have to work through that, which I think is so important. I could talk to you forever, and I'm just realizing
Yes.
the time. I think we should maybe like have you come back and we can talk about
Okay.
it more. I always love this question and ending, and it comes out a little differently every time. But the reason that with this podcast, what was really important to me was this journey of all these different expressions of really landing into our purpose, our presence, and our prosperity. And I know that when you had shared with me some of what you do, like there was this uniting to bringing in that new era of peace, prosperity, and love that you had actually written, which I loved so much. But my question for you as we wrap this up and the message that you want to share with the audience would be around what does that purpose, presence, and prosperity mean to you? Because I think we all have different journeys and definitions.
It's the healing of the collective consciousness. of a united new earth, of a healthy way of being where humanity isn't violent, where we interact with each other with love and grace, compassion and kindness. Sure, there's still going to be a little division, a little bit of conflict, but we see through all that and we live above it because we are simply a higher vibrational frequency race of being.
I
That's
really
my
feel,
intention.
I think that's really beautiful, and I really feel like that's where we're headed. I think we're,
Mhm.
collectively, we're really opening. So many people are discovering that what they were doing before isn't working anymore, and who
And
they were.
that's okay. Forgive yourself and move on. Learn the new ways and just drop it. Don't
I
hold on
think,
to it anymore. Don't carry that backpack. Let it go.
I think, like you said, it's an invitation to set the backpack down, to take off the big, heavy burdens, to take out some of those filters that you've been wearing, all those multiple sunglasses and you can't see through.
Oh, yeah.
Take them off and let yourself be with what is now, and ask the question, who am I? And I feel like when the student arrives, the teacher appears.
Absolutely.
I really do. And I want to thank you for sharing your beautiful wisdom and your experience. And I would love for you to let others know where they can find you and what is the next thing happening for you. What invitation do you have for the audience as well?
Oh, wonderful. You can all find us. We have a website, www.plac.love, or I'm on Instagram, Alexander the Grateful, and Facebook, Alexander Shafer. We are offering, for those of you not in the local area, a plant medicine retreat in July and then another one in September. And if you are in the Miami, Fort Myers, Naples area, we do weekly sound healings. And then we go to Miami every other week and we do ceremony there. So if anybody feels called, or if you just simply want to have a conversation, reach out and DM. We're here for it.
I love that. And we'll put all the links in the show notes so people can find you. But thank you so much. Would love to just have you say the last, like wrapping up this episode, what is something you really want to share from your heart?
Just love, just be love. And I love you all.
Love that. Thank you so much. It's been fun chatting, and I look forward to the next conversation next week and to having you back with us, Alexander.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so honored.
Thanks.